All right. Hello, hello. Let's see if we can flip over here and get ourselves rolling. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. So this week we'll be exploring Acadia National Park. So just like in past weeks, I've created a flight plan for us and we'll go and explore the park together. Before I get too ahead of myself, let me make sure I pull up my show notes here and keep myself on track. Um, Fractals, when you get a moment, do you mind posting up the flight plan? Uh, okay. Cool. So, quick addition this week. One of the things that I've really enjoyed is when people are able to fly alongside in the game and kind of explore together. But I know if you don't have the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, or if you aren't really interested in doing that kind of the flying aspect of things, that doesn't really work for you. So one of the things that I'm trying out this week is something called flight events. I'm sorry, flight tracker. Um, and so let me see if I can get Fractal. I can post these two up. Okay, so we'll get the flight plan up there. So for those of you with Microsoft Flight Simulator, this is the good place to start. And for those of you without it who just want to follow along at home, let me know if this one works for you. Some beautiful people. Thanks, Fractals. Fractals was helping me with my French earlier, which I will attempt throughout the stream. You will hear, hopefully, okay French. Um, so the second link there, this flight tracker, should, and it would be great if someone ready for good flight. Nice to have you, Stacy. Also, hello. I see a Mary and a Stacy. Um, so if you have or if someone is able to give that a try, and just make sure you should see me near an airport. It's called 93 Bravo near Stonington. Um, Dang, he's out there. Sorry, Fractals. Um, okay, so that's kind of the update for this week. Hopefully that flight tracker works for those of you who like to kind of explore the map and look around and stuff like that. Awesome, thanks. Um, all right, a couple things about the stream. So each week we'll pick a new national park to explore together. We'll visit some of the key attractions, talk a bit about the park and its history, and enjoy the beautiful views from the sky. This week we picked to explore Acadia National Park, and so that's where we're going. Like I mentioned, the flight plan is posted. I'm in the West USA server. Um, Quick disclaimer, yes, I am a pilot, but we'll be taking full advantage of the simulator, so please don't try this kind of thing in real life. I've also researched the park in preparation and added anything useful with sources back to the National Parks Wikipedia page. Why Wikipedia? So there's two reasons for this. It's the best possible way to make sure that the facts are checked by others, and it's a way to give back to a living body of knowledge. So this sort of information goes beyond our hour here together. To that end, if you notice anything incorrect or should be clarified, please help fix the Wikipedia pages. As the wiki community often says, be bold and make the updates. Dang, those clouds off the runway are beautiful. I know, it looks like cotton candy. Already so scenic, yeah. So I picked a sunrise start for us this morning. Make sure we're actually set to, this is about right. We can kind of change that if our sun's in our eyes. Okay, so oh, quick heads up. At the end, we will pick the next national park to explore together. So look out for a survey in the chat a little bit later on. Also, if you have questions or thoughts or ideas as we're flying around, feel free to post them in the chat. Fractals is our amazing moderator who will field things if I miss them, but otherwise I'll try and check more regularly. All right, without further ado, I'm Jules Altus, and I'll be your pilot for this evening. So sit back, relax, and let's explore Acadia. Also, let me know if the audio levels or anything need to be adjusted. I think we're good, at least on my end it looks like it is, but I can't hear what you guys are hearing just as well. Okay, so today we're going to be in yeah, I'm getting the thumbs up from the wife. Thanks, wife. So today we're going to be on a high wing plane. It's a slow two-seater called a Flight Design CTSL. So this is the plane that we'll be flying around in. I'll try and stay in the cockpit to keep a little bit more of that like kind of in the flight perspective, but that's what we're going around in. The other thing I'll mention quick is as we're taking off here, so let me bring the engine up. Um, so I'll do my quick takeoff run here. Now this plane doesn't need much speed to fly, which is pretty handy. It's a little bit of a short runway. Let's see if we can get up. There you go, right off into the cotton candy sky. Hey there, Fuzzy Metal. I mentioned last week that I was going to post in more of the forums and other places around the flying community or the flight simulator community. So we may have some people pop in and out. We'll see. Oh, thanks, Fractals. Yeah, would be very curious about people's experience with the park. So let me know. Oops. Looks like we lost our flight events. Just a moment. That link I sent out earlier requires me to be connected here. Here we go. Okay. Let me see if I can recenter this. All right, well, good news is that I've done this flight a couple of times now, so I'm just going to start in the right heading, and then we'll bring that back in later. Actually, we have it on our little map in the corner, which is handy. Make sure that I got my devices connected. Yep, good. Oops. Hey, there we go. Okay, cool. So Acadia as a national park is kind of broad. We're going to visit 3 main islands that are part of the park. The first one coming up here straight ahead is, and such a small plane. Yeah, it's a little itty bitty plane. It isn't the size, it's how you fly it. That's right. That's the right attitude. Okay, let's slow this thing down just a little bit here. So like I mentioned, I was practicing a little bit of French with Fractals beforehand, who happens to speak a little bit of French. So thank you, Fractals. I will say that my pronunciation is at best shaky, so bear with me. For those of you who speak French, if you want to throw it in the chat the right way to do it, I'm happy to give it another go. But first up on our exploration today is the Ile Au, which I'm just going to pull up on the iPad so you can see how it's spelled. So this is that's what I'm attempting to pronounce. Ile Au. I'm so sorry, Fractals. I tried. Okay, so this part of the park is nice for trails and kind of easy exploration if you're looking for it. It's not one of the main areas of the park, so we'll spend most of our time in the rest, but we'll kind of we'll start off just flying over here and checking out the coastline a little bit. All right, Fractals, how'd that pull turn out? Close enough. Yeah, right. We were practicing, and it's sort of like, no, more vowels, more vowels. So, yeah. As those of you who watched Saguaro know that I have a little bit of Spanish background, so it's a little easier. Yes, in the last 10 years. Oh, I was like, okay, got it. So I have, yeah, it's a pretty plane. Sailor guy, I agree. I have never been to Acadia. It is one of the more popular parks, so I think it's one of the most top 10 parks in the country. So yeah, I have a hunch. Fractals, we'll see. I don't know. Okay, so a little bit of background on the park while we're flying over here. It's in all of my research on it, it read sort of like a love poem in the ways that people who have been there would talk about it, people of past who wanted to make it a park. It's got this sort of like rich affection that I haven't actually seen in the other national parks. Of course, people like the other national parks, but this one it really stood out. And so I'll try and bring that kind of attitude into the discussion today. But background-wise, Acadia National Park is an American national park located on the midsection of the Maine coast. So let me zoom out on the iPad here. You can see where we're flying around. It is just southwest of Bar Harbor. So get a little bit further so you can see kind of where we're at. Okay. zoom myself back in here. Okay, so there's where we're going today. The park preserves about half of Mount, another French word. It's spelt desert, but it looks like, or I think it's pronounced dessert. Um, so again, for French pronunciation, Mount Desert Island, part of the Isle Ho, Isle Ho, which is what we're just about to fly over, or we are flying over now. But yeah, sunrise is beautiful, but let's get a little bit more texture in here so we can see it. Oh, maybe we'll give it a second while we round the coast, actually. No need to rush. Dessert. Oh, thank you, Fractals. Dessert. Ooh. Okay. It also preserves the tip of Skutik Peninsula and portions of about 16 smaller outlying islands. So it's got a lot of different parts to it, and we'll fly over the majority of the park. You can see what it looks like. It preserves the natural beauty of the rocky headlands, and one of the things I'm going to try and point out here as we round, if you look down at our window, you can see this sort of like recreation sort of a rocky coast. I'll show some pictures later that kind of captured it a bit better, but that sort of like rocky headlands is a really big, beautiful part of why this became a national park. So again, there's our isle that we're passing there. And one of the other things that it preserves is the highest mountain along the Atlantic coast in the U.S. So this is the Cadillac Mountain. The park boasts a glaciated coastal and island landscape, an abundance of habitats, a high level of biodiversity, clean air and water, and a rich cultural heritage. The park also, so like I mentioned, contains the tallest mountain of the Atlantic coast of the United States, which is it's spelled Cadillac like the car, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But Cadillac Mountain, I believe, is the pronunciation. Exposed granite domes, kind of like you might see in a Yellowstone kind of location. Glacial erratics, U-shaped valleys, and cobble beaches. Its mountains, lakes, streams, wetlands, forests, meadows, coastlines all contribute to a great diversity of plants and animals. We'll talk a little bit about one bird today. Weaved into this landscape is a historic carriage road system, which was financed by John D. Rockefeller Jr. In total, the park encompasses 49,000 acres as of about 2017. Okay, so we're on course here. I think we're doing okay. We got a little bit of a flight here. So let's talk about Cadillac Mountain a little bit. And we'll pull up. We're about to see this view. So I'll pull it up now so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. So in this picture, Cadillac Mountain is kind of the third from the right on this. It's the tallest peak, although all the mountains in the area are kind of comparable heights. So this is named after Antoine de la Mouth. Oh, Fractals, I forgot to ask you how to pronounce his name. Antoine de la Mouth, Sieur de Cadillac. He was born Antoine Lemaitre and was a French explorer and adventurer in New France, which is this area, which stretched from eastern Canada to Louisiana on the Gulf Coast of Mexico. He rose from modest beginnings in Acadia, so there you go, in 1683 as an explorer, trapper, and a trader of alcohol and furs. He achieved various positions of political importance across the country, or across the colony, excuse me. So this is Antoine Lemaitre, Sieur de Cadillac. So I was reading about this fella because he sounded interesting. He has a mountain named after him. He also, it turns out, has a car company named after him, as well as a couple of cities. And so I wanted to learn a bit more about where this came from, who he was. Yeah. Monsieur, okay, there you go. The Cadillac of Mountains, it is. And the Cadillac of Views is one of the things people often say because you get this sunrise over the Atlantic. So it's the first place for much of the year you can see the sunrise on the East Coast. So it's the first place that sunrise occurs in the US for about 6 months of the year. Fun fact for you. Um, okay, so I wanted to know a little bit more about this guy. He arrives in America, and Lamothe adopted a title after the town of Cadillac in southwestern France. So when he showed up, when I say he adopted a title, what I mean is that he created a new name, he created a new identity, he forged a noble origin, and probably was protecting himself from recognition of those who knew him back in France. So this guy shows up, and is a big explorer, but is also kind of like, making up this story about himself. Now, fast forward several centuries, the city of Detroit becomes the center of the automobile production in the 20th century. So when the Cadillac Auto Company was founded, they wanted to pay homage to um, Antoine, what is it? Antoine de Cadillac. Um, and so they decided to use his, again, made up coat of arms as the Cadillac logo. So this is his coat of arms. Give that a second to load. Okay, it's got there's names for all the different parts of this, which was a lot to get into right now. But if you look at this side by side with the Cadillac logo, so next time you see a Cadillac driving around, you can look for that kind of signature. Um, right now they simplified it down to just kind of yellow bars and kind of red and blue squares and stuff, but it looks pretty clearly just about that same. So that's all about uh, Antoine de Cadillac. He was originally hailed as a hero until about the 1950s, when people started revisiting some of his behavior and decided that he's probably one of the worst scoundrels that ever set foot in New France. Okay. That was a sidebar on Cadillac Mountain, which you can kind of see off in the distance here. Let's see. Cadillac Mountains, what plane are you flying? John, I'm flying a little, it's called a Flight Design CSTL. It's a little two-wing. Here, I'll flip out so you can see. It's one that comes with the standard version of the game, and it's kind of a nice, slow, easy flying one. The flaps actually go negative, which I hadn't seen in a plane before. So I won't show that here because it'll throw off my flying. But instead of flaps that only drop, the flaps actually will pop up. Kind of interesting. So yeah, Fractals, I agree. I saw it and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is the same Cadillac as the company. And not only is it, it's like, um, it's the same dude in all these different places. So he's got like a city in, I think it's Michigan, named after him too. Anyway, okay, so that was a quick sidebar. You can see Cadillac off in the distance now.
Destination AWAS is
Acadia itself has a
118.35.
rich human history dating back more than 10,000 years ago with the Wabanaki people. The 17th century brought fur traders and other European explorers, like we just talked about. Well, the 19th century saw an influx of summer visitors, and then followed by wealthy families. Many conservative-minded citizens, among them George Dorr, who's called the father of Acadia National Park, worked to establish this first national park east of the Mississippi River and the only national park in the northeastern United States. Acadia was initially designated Sur de Mont, again pronunciation, National Monument by proclamation of President Woodrow Wilson in 1916, then renamed and redesignated Lafayette National Park in 1919. Finally, its name was changed to Acadia National Park in 1929. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the rich and famous who passed through there. It's got a rich history there. Except my ancestors. Am I right? Nice Fractals. Yeah, Sailor Guy, totally agree. It's a fascinating history. There's a lot of recreational activities here. It reads like a laundry list of things that you'd want to do at a summer camp. Hiking, bicycling, horseback riding, checking out the carriage roads where you can ride in carriages, rock climbing, kayaking. There's winter activities, ranger-led programs, really anything that you want to do. And you'll see kind of why when we get up close to the island, why it has that kind of anything you want to do as an option. That is a little bit of background on Acadia. We are heading to this island right off the plane here. I'll zoom in so you can see it. So we're going to Baker Island right here. Baker Island, and just off this direction, which is Bass Harbor. I believe it's in this direction. Um, both have lighthouses on them. And so and for those of you who were here last week, you'll remember that I am trying to do less kind of just reading facts about things, which is not quite so interesting, and a little bit more storytelling about different interesting parts around the park. Um, so we have two topics for today, kind of three. Um, one of them is about lighthouses because, at least for me, when I think of Maine, one of the first things I think of is lighthouses. Oh, we got a bunch of posts. Fractals here, kicking butt, nice. Excited to be here. Hey, Heather. Uh, yeah, okay. So thank you, Fractals, for posting the poll. So we'll kick off the lighthouse section with a poll like we usually do. Um, what is the hardest part of building a lighthouse in your backyard? Is it gathering the lamp, the power, and the lens, or finding the right location, or juggling all the Tinder matches after you update your profile picture? Give people a second. Let's see if this poll works any better. Yeah. Yeah, the straw poll approach it's real handy, but we'll see. Fractals, if we don't have any luck, then we can change it up for next week. I'll give people a second to vote on that while we talk about lighthouses. So lighthouses are a staple in Maine. They went so far as to choose it for their state order. So you may recognize this. This is Bass Harbor, which is in the national park. This is in the America the Beautiful Park Coin series, which it turns out, for those of you who have been seeing it for a couple of years, that series of quarters is going to be releasing its 56th and final coin in February 8th of 2021. So if you're looking forward to things in 2021, there's another one to add to your list. So there'll be 56 of those different kinds of quarters. So what is a lighthouse?
500.
The tower, building, or other type of structure that emits light from a system of lamps and lenses, and it serves as a navigational aid for either people at sea or when you're navigating inland waterways, which, as you can see from here on this map, there's a lot of islands that you need to navigate around. The lighthouses are typically used to mark dangerous coastlines, which I mentioned that it's got rocky coasts everywhere here, and so it would be a good place to have a lighthouse. They'll also mark hazardous shoals, reefs, rocks, entry, and then also safe places to go, places that are okay because it's a harbor. While they were once widely used, operational lighthouses are kind of going away due to the high level of maintenance and also the better and cheaper navigation systems that are available. So they're no longer really needed. Okay, Strobel is down right now, so they're having, oh, that's too bad. Let us know in the chat. Yeah. Nice solution. Location, Heather? Okay. Good guess. So it sounds like straw poll is down. That's too bad. Find the right location. Okay, we got 2 for location. It's a good guess. So I mentioned that we're coming up to Baker Island here. Baker Island is one of 3 locations in the park where there are lighthouses. So if you go and see Acadia, you can go and visit all 3 of them. There's Baker Island, Bass Harbor, and Bear Island. I believe it's Bear Island. Let me pull up real quick. We can see what this looks like. So this is Bass Harbor. This is the one that was on that coin. And there's gorgeous pictures of Bass Harbor. So I grabbed one that kind of shows what it is, but if you want artistic shots, there's some really good ones. Baker Island then, oops, sorry, this isn't the lighthouse. This is the view from the island, which is actually appropriate because we are flying over that island right now. So the in-game view looks like this. Kind of orient ourselves relative to the rest of the park. Here, I'll zoom the, oops, pull this back here. So there's that in-game view. Thank you. Okay, so this is what we're seeing here now. If I switch back to Chrome, you can see the view actually from the island. So if you took a picture from the coastline, that's what you'd see. All right, let's flip back here. Okay, so we have the 3 lighthouses. Let's see, Tinder profile update. Fractals, excellent guest. Lenses, yep. So the correct answer, of course, is all of the above. um, because the tricky piece with a lighthouse is all of the system that you need to actually get the light out. It's the choosing the right location, and then of course it's dealing with being the coolest person in the entire area. So you got to do what you got to do though. Speaking of being the coolest person in the area, let's talk through a hypothetical here. So let's say, and we're gonna head ourselves over this direction as our next destination. Starting this way. So you find yourself in a dicey situation. You had promised your partner that you were going to do the load of laundry, and you've been putting it off, and you kept forgetting to do it. Finally, it's been too much, and you need to send out a warning signal to your friends who are supposed to come over that they should stay away. Good way to do that, be to construct a lighthouse in your own backyard, right? Pretty straightforward. So what do you need to do if you're going to do that? First, you need a lamp. A lamp in a lighthouse is the source of light, the actual what's going to emit the light. It could be a fire or a candle, like in the old days. You could use a wick and oil. Um, More modern lighthouses use LED lights. For a while, they would use, for instance, filaments. Um, in our case, you could use any of those. I would recommend an LED. It's probably the most straightforward. Many lighthouses in North America are actually made to run off whale or seal blubber. Yeah, nice fractals. That's a good fun fact. Um, and then they recently upgraded Acadia's Bass Harbor to use LED. They have a bunch of pictures from, I don't know when the upgrade finished, but it was like in the last couple of years. I think I have a picture of that actually. I know I grabbed one of the parks, but anyway, we'll see if it comes up later. There's definitely some on Wikimedia if you're looking for interesting ones. Okay, so you need to keep your friends away because your partner's upset. What you're going to do is get yourself a lamp, which is your actual light emitting source. You also need some sort of power source. So if you're burning things like a candle, then it burns and there's your power source. Or you could do something like what the Soviets did and make radioisotope thermoelectric generators, RTGs. If you decide to go the nuclear route, be sure to write down where you stored your nuclear batteries, because if you forget about that, you could end up like Russia is now and trying to track down a bunch of lighthouses that are in the middle of nowhere. Downloaded the app. Hey, Rosita. With such historical power. Yeah. Okay, and then, or you could use something like a generator, solar panels, battery. Okay, so your lamp, your light source. The last thing you need is a lens, and this is a way to focus the light forward. Modern lighthouses, you could use just like a normal lens, like a lens you would have in your glasses, but a modern lighthouse uses what's called a Fresnel lighthouse. I'm sorry, a Fresnel lens. Let me pull up this. Oops. Let's see if I got. The files are loading up, and I'll pull up also what it looks like in a normal lens so you can kind of compare the two side by side a little bit here. Okay, so the first one here, this is how a Fresnel lens works. So it takes whatever the light source is that you provide it, and it essentially redirects all the light forward. So whatever angle it's going to hit this lens at, it's going to shoot it out forward. If we look at that side by side with kind of a conventional lens, this is the difference. So while you could get the same sort of strength with a really big lens, the advantage of a Fresnel lens is that it doesn't need as wide a lens to get the same sort of power or more. I think it's like some number percent stronger than an average lens. Okay, so quick flip back over to our flight. So we're coming up on the Scudic Peninsula. You can kind of see off the coast here. So you notice there's kind of a rocky coastline and a number of buildings right on the shore here. This looked like a beautiful place to go and hike around when I was looking at photos. In fact, I think I have some photos. Let me pull those up. This is the coastline, which you just saw. So, and you can see there's like a black kind of line in here. Let me see if I can navigate this photo. This is actually volcanic rocks. You get a mix of the volcanic dikes right next to the rest of the rock. It's a pretty cool area to see. The other view that I'll show is there's this education and research center. And I didn't grab any other photos of the buildings in the area, but the buildings in around the park are amazing. Uh, really, really beautiful. So that's now you got your visual reference of what that sort of looks like. Well, let's see if we can turn this plane around here. A little easier to fly when you're facing forward. Okay. Oops. Haven't been checking the chat. Just realized it's a French plane by the bar on top saying it is a French plane. I was curious if someone would notice that. Yeah. What does it say? Saying not to store your helmet there. Fractals is noticing this. Oops, this piece up here. It is a French plane, and they translate everything else to English, but that piece stayed. That's part of the reason I picked it. Good eye. Um, Got to see some different Fresnel lenses at Whitefish Point in UP, Michigan. They look awesome in person. I believe that. Yeah. I have a picture of here. Let me show you this one. So there's this. This is the one that's in Bass Harbor. So this is the one I was mentioning before, and you can see it's got this that kind of tiered structure. This is a fourth order Fresnel lens. So a Fresnel lens can be anywhere between first and sixth order. The first order is the biggest and most powerful, and those are the kind of like gorgeous ones you might see if you look online for any other images. Um, and the sixth order then is like the smallest. They're pretty cool in person. Yeah, I love those North Shore lighthouses. Yeah, yeah, the North Shore lighthouses are really pretty. Um, Oops. All right, let's flip back to this one. Okay, so now we're passing Scudic Peninsula off to our left, kind of in there. That's where the research center is, just over the edge there, our left wing. The entrance to this part of the park is right over here, which I'll attempt to get a little view in, but you can kind of see. Now we're going to make our way back to the main part of the park. Okay, so you're building your lighthouse. You're going to keep your friends away. But you ran into a new problem, which is that all of your neighbors have had the same idea. They're all going to build lighthouses in their backyards. So what are you going to do? Somehow you need to differentiate your lighthouse in the dark from the other lighthouses all around. The best way that you could do it, barring other technologies, would be to encode some sort of message in the light itself. So all the lighthouses that we've looked at, the one that had that rotating Fresnel lens, allows you to put some sort of pattern out. And this would be the arrangement of light, the frequency at which it goes, or the color. I see RGB lighthouse. I know, right? Yeah, just put it out. And actually, the lighthouses that you would see, they're not quite lighthouses, but they're similar that you would see at an airport. Do use a pattern of greens and whites, which is this top alternating pattern. But lighthouses around like Rosno, the lighthouses around that area probably would use the kind of patterned flashing. So next time you're up there, if you look at the lighthouses, you'll see some sort of encoded flashing frequency, like a grouped or some sort of spacing. So that's your way of differentiating your lighthouse from everyone else's lighthouse. To get that though, you'll need it to spin, so you could float it in liquid mercury like they used to do, and then just run it on like a clockwork mechanism. That's an okay solution. You got a lot of liquid mercury to deal with then. Otherwise, you could just use a motor and gears, which is where they kind of ended up in the end. Last but not least, if you were so inclined, you could attach a foghorn to your lighthouse. I don't know if that would help in the situation we're talking about, but you could do something like a bell or a gong like they used to do. You could also do a cannon, which was the British's preferred method for a long time. And they only had a couple of incidents where they shattered the glass in the lighthouse, which made me wonder immensely about their preference for cannons on it. You could also use a siren or what's called a diaphone, which is basically an organ pipe. It's the same design, but it's just really big. And like we talked about in the survey, you also need to choose a location. So you need it to be tall enough for your friends to see before they're too close to the danger. And so there's an equation for deciding how tall your lighthouse needs to be. I won't go into that here. I know, right? Yeah, I think that was that upload of that photo I just showed, the Bass Harbor. I think that was from like 2 months ago. So yeah, it's sort of like all the parks are empty, and so people are doing all these things. This town we're coming up to right here is Bar Harbor. I'm sorry, yeah, Bar Harbor. which is a very pretty little town. And I'll get a view. Actually, I can pull that up now. So this is the view from Cadillac Mountain uh, of Bar Harbor. Actually, I can make that slightly bigger. Let me see if I can do this with. Yeah, that kind of works. So looking down Cadillac Mountain, which I'll point the game at in just a second, you can see kind of this town off in the distance here. So that view, now we're on the bottom part of that, but Cadillac Mountain then is, excuse me, this mountain right here, tallest one off. All right, let's keep rounding around here. Good for you, fractals. I'm trying to be uh, aware of my gendered nouns and gendered pronouns because when it's not necessary, then there's no reason for it. And I will say that old texts on lighthouses were not so cautious about those things, but I'm trying to translate it well enough. All right, so there's your solution. That's how you build your lighthouse in the backyard. You need a good location, lamp, power, and a lens. And of course, you need to update your Tinder profile after you're done. So, story of the Mori is this: navigation is changing every day, and new technology is safer and more efficient. The more straightforward approach here, of course, would be to just call your friend and have them use their GPS to stay away. Or you could build that lighthouse you've always dreamed of and just get yourself a new partner from all those Tinder posts that you're going to have. Right? Fractals, you want to pull up carriage trails? We can talk a little bit about that. Some of you know that my wife is hanging out up here to help if I forget to change the camera back on the stream, and she just gave me a pretty funny look. Thanks for that. Um, okay, so while excuse me, Fractals is getting that up, we are crossing over what's called the Tarn, which Cadillac Mountain is just on the right here. And there's a series of carriage roads that actually wrap around. You can't really see them in the sim almost at all, so I didn't really spend much time trying to find them. We'll look at one bridge because it's okay, but I'll pull up some photos and stuff you can see. But this sort of area and the Tarn is this little glacial lake that you can see. Oh, oh, oops! I had scrolled up on the chat and totally missed these. Like Batman, like Batman. You had a good lighthouse code. That's so funny. Like Batman, what an observation. Bar Harbor, Wisconsin, Wisconsinite. Yeah, kids want to know you are actually flying the plane. I am actually flying the plane. Um, so what I'm using right now is I have a little controller set. I think I might be able to show you if I hold it up in my face. So I got a little controller that I'm using, which isn't how you would normally fly a plane. But I also have under my feet actually are rudder pedals. So those are plugged into the game. So if I push on my left foot here, oops, let me make sure that I can still see the world outside there. If I push on my left foot, it'll actually use the rudder pedals in the game. If I push on my right foot, it'll do that. And if I apply the brakes, you can see that this plane has a brake in the center of the plane. So you can see it using it there. So yeah, I am kind of flying while attempting to do. Fractals, here, I think this is up. So let's talk about carriage trails. Carriage trails. I got this one. Let's see if it works. Hey, there we go. And quickly while we're flying over it, off to our left here is called Sand Beach. Sand Beach looks like this in real life. Gorgeous little area of the park and a must-see destination if you end up going, when you end up going. Is it a drone or are you in the plane? So I'm in is it a drone or are you in the plane? I'm not sure I understand the question, Kristen. Barrel roll, is it possible in the plane? That's adorable. I'll tell you what, if you stick around till the end, I'll try and do a barrel roll on this plane later. We can do that as a finale afterwards. You can do a barrel, so a barrel roll is what's called a 1G maneuver. So technically, you can do a barrel roll in any plane because technically you're not exceeding any of the limitations. Yeah, and so I'm inside the plane, but I can switch to an exterior view. Yeah, Fractals is right. So because a barrel roll is a 1G maneuver, you can technically do it. There's a really famous picture of a Boeing 747 being where they did a barrel roll over the Puget Sound in Seattle. And so if you're looking for a real cool photo, I don't have it on hand, but it's worth looking up. There's actually a little video of it. Because it's a 1G maneuver, to the plane, it doesn't know the difference, but if you mess it up, it's oh, that's right. I forgot the polls aren't working. Thank you, Fractals. Um, this one is not a trick question. So this one is a real one. So the poll question is, what are the stones acting as guardrails on the carriage roads called? Are they Rockefeller's bags of money, Rockefeller's toes, or Rockefeller's teeth? All right, and while people are typing that in here, let me show you what this looks like. So this is kind of a picture of what the carriage road looks like from the road itself. So you can see it's kind of got this really fine ground up texture to it. It's carved through the hills and really matches the landscape. The rusticers of the mid 1800s, who were early visitors to stay in the home, let me round up here. We're coming up on Seal Harbor to our right, so I'll see if I can get a little bit closer here. Rockefeller's toes, toes. We got 3 for toes, 1 for teeth. Okay. Toes. The rusticers first came in the mid 1800s, and they were the early visitors to this area, and they would just stay with the local fishermen and kind of rent out a part of their house for a small fee. In the 1880s, though, the cottagers started to arrive, and they stayed there until about the Great Depression, about World War II. So for a select few Americans, the 1880s and the gay 90s, the 1890s, were a time of affluence without precedent. This is Rockefeller, this is Vanderbilt, this is the Carnegies that we talked about last week, this is all those kinds of folks. I will attempt to fly real low here and see if I can get this view of the bridge as we're coming along. You can kind of see, zoom in here, these red lines are the recommended path to go and see. So I'm sort of flying along what would be the carriage path. You can't see it super well, but we'll see if we can get an okay view here. So these rich and wealthy of America start showing up in the late 1800s. And okay, let's see if I can get, there you go, right out the window, just right there. So there's one of the carriage bridges as it's seen in the game. It's not a great reproduction of it. In fact, we can get a much better one. Why don't we pull this up real quick? So this is sort of what that looks like, which is gorgeous, as you can tell. So toes, toes, toes for one, teeth for the other. Okay, that's good. I'm coming up on Jordan Pond here. I will fly through this part on carriage bridges because we're getting time flies when you're having fun, I suppose. So let me show you Jordan Pond, and these two rock formations just off the front of the plane are called the bubbles. Apparently they're euphemistically called the bubbles. I couldn't find anything to fact check that, but I do like to believe that it's true. All right, so that's what we get here in Lake Jordan. So those carriage roads that I was talking about were mostly financed by John D. Rockefeller Jr., who directed the construction of the road and was critically involved in most parts of its being built. He paid for 16 of the 17 bridges that we talked about, as well as 2 of the gates to the lodges. There's about 45 miles of carriage roads in the park. Let me show this real quick so we can see, because you can kind of see what the carriage roads look like if I, yeah, let's go big iPad. So all those white trails in and around, those are all the carriage trails. So it's a pretty intricate system that they have going through the park. All right, and now we're flying over Eagle Lake. Like I mentioned, this is a quick series of things. So here's Eagle Lake in the fall. So the answer to the previous question then is Rockefeller's teeth. So along the edge of the road, there are these little stones called Rockefeller's teeth. So those of you who guessed that, congratulations. Those of you who are with a family member who got it wrong, you can tell them so. It's okay. But you'll see the kind of looks like teeth, I guess, coming around here. Okay. Fractals, does the wind thing work? So one of the things, as I'm closing out this section, I really wanted to get back to that element of sort of like it's kind of a love story to the park. And I couldn't figure out how to finish this part about the carriage roads quite right. And so I thought maybe, hey, M. Rosno's the winner. There you go. Um, so I wanted to do my own love letter, and I figured if I'm going to address it to someone, I might as well address it to one of you. So M. Rosno, excuse me, dear M. Rosno, the story of the Maury here is Rockefeller Jr. and others donated lots of money, true, but the real story here is a story of passion. Rockefeller personally oversaw the construction of many bridges, wanting to ensure the area would be preserved as the world quickly moved to automobiles. That's why the name Rockefeller's Teeth was lovingly given. That passion makes a difference. And who knows? Maybe the next national park will have a monument lovingly called M. Rosno's Toes. Okay. Um, that was for you, M. Rosno. We can make it into a clip later if you want it for your own. Off to our left here is the Hills Cove Visitor Center. So this is the main entry point to the park. So when you go and visit, this is the first stop to go and check out. I'm going to do a kind of slow turnaround here. So we'll get, it's actually an airport just across the way here, which is pretty cool. Story of the Maury. Yeah, that's right. Story of the Maury. Yeah, Fractals knows what it's from. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I figured start every section with a poll, close every section with a story of the Maury, and you'll be pretty good to go. Speaking of starting with a poll, so I know that straw poll is down, but let's see if we can post this one up again. Please do. Nice. Fractals, do you mind posting the poll directly anyway, and you can skip the poll part, I guess, and we'll just read it off. So the next thing about this park, we talked a little about lighthouses, talked a little about the carriage roads. We're going to close out today talking about peregrine falcons. So how does a peregrine falcon hunt? Do they soar high, then dive and hit prey with their wings? It's called stooping. Do they use discourse and relationship building, called diplomacy? Or it doesn't hunt, others hunt for it, called mob boss. So I'll give you guys a second to respond on that one. As people are typing in theirs here, we're turning around. You can see Cadillac Mountain right up the center here. We're going to head that way. Okay, so this is Cadillac Mountain. Now we had Eagle Lake over on the right here. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I changed direction. I'm going to finish at Cadillac Mountain, actually, because it makes more sense to head over to the yard. We'll talk about in about 2 seconds. So keep this train moving. I pray that it's diplomacy, right? Isn't that true? Mob boss. It's actually just trick photography. Isn't it always, though? I have a spoiler, actually. None of this is real, this simulation. It's all a simulation. Okay, that was a bad joke. Peregrine falcon. So, AKA the duck hawk in North America. So you may have heard it called that. Oops, I'll give that a second to load. It's a widespread bird of prey, a raptor. Large crow-sized falcon, blue-gray back, barred white underparts, and a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'll just show you what it looks like. You've probably seen them in photos or around because they're really important around the country and to a lot of parts of the world, actually. So they show up in the Idaho Quarter, for one thing. They're also the official mascot of Bowling Green State University in Ohio, and it's the official city bird of Chicago. It's the peregrine falcon. It's renowned for its speed, reaching over 200 miles per hour during its characteristic. Oops, excuse me. Let me turn around so I make sure I'm flying the right way. We're heading over to Somes Sound, which is this part. So it reaches speeds over 200 miles per hour when it does its characteristic hunting stoop, which is a high-speed dive. So stoop is the right answer. How people got that one? A, C. That's pretty funny. Prey hunting. Diplomacy. It's the Matrix. Yeah. So it uses stooping, which is this kind of high-speed dive. Let me grab, actually, because I have a video of peregrine falcons, which we don't have time to get to. So instead, I'll use it as a chance to let people know about the Discord chat. So Fractals, I think I have a link Let me see. It's either at the bottom or the top or something. Fractal says the show notes. If you can find it, let me know. If you can't, that's okay. But I will post that video on Peregrine Falcons afterwards to the Discord channel. So those of you who are already there, it's worth checking out. It's a pretty cool overview of them. Um, and as those of you remember from last week, we met Ranger Phillip. I believe this week it's Ranger Connor. Ranger Connor seems like a gem, so you get to go and say hi to him. Okay, quickly while we're flying over Somme Sound. So this particular part of the park is a what's called a fjord. So there's a fjord, which you've probably heard of before. This is slightly different, although related. It's called a fjord. So um, a fjord is a large open space of water between groups of islands or mainland and archipelagos. Fjords can be found along seacoasts, freshwater lakes, and rivers. While fjord and fjord both originally came from the same word, which basically means sailable waterway, in Scandinavia, uh, they come from the same general source of the word, which is it's a sailable waterway. The difference, though, between the two is fjords have this steep, high relief cliff that's carved in. So, like the classic fjord has these, or fjord, excuse me, has these really tall, kind of steep cliffs. A fjord looks more like this. It's a little bit more of a gradual depression valley. So this is Somme's Fjord. I think I'm getting that pronunciation incorrect, so apologies for that piece on it. So, but Somme's is a fjord. Uh, I I Yeah, there's a little bit more here. I pulled up a picture of a fjord. So this is what a fjord looks like. This is what a fjord looks like, which is this is from I think it's from Alaska. Yeah, Glacier Bay National Park. So sometime down the road, we'll go and visit Glacier Bay together. Join the Discord, stay update. Thank you very much, Fractals. Sounds like a pirate. That's right. Um, Fjord. Excellent. Um, yeah. So okay. So let's talk about Peregrine falcons for just a second. So there's two things that I really wanted to talk about. One is how they hunt, which is just incredible. So they're super widespread. I won't pull up a range picture, but it basically is most of the globe. What they hunt primarily nowadays is, or one of the big things they hunt is what's called a rock pigeon. So for those of you who have been in big cities, you may recognize the rock pigeon as this kind of bird you'll see around the streets all the time. Well, what's interesting about them hunting the rock pigeon is um, the peregrine falcon nests on these high cliffs, which is really big in Acadia. And this is something that actually was a reason I wanted to show that video. So do check it out in the Discord. Is the game doesn't really show the the cliff aspect of it, but the park is really pretty rocky and pretty cool. So they build their nest there, which looks kind of like a cityscape, right? And so they also peregrine falcons do really well in cities because it's the same sort of habitat. Well, peregrine falcons then end up with the prime prey that they'd like, this rock pigeon. They end up with the perfect nesting ground in cities, and so all of a sudden you have this relationship of rock pigeons love the city for all the stuff that people leave on the street. Peregrine falcons love the city for all the nesting opportunities and food, and so now they're making a huge comeback all around. Excellent comments in the chat. All boys to the fjord. All the boys to the fjord. That's so funny. Okay. Thank you, Fractals. Um, I missed whatever the comment was, but it's a good reminder, that it is a family-friendly show. So thanks, Fractals. Okay. What else about peregrine falcons in our last 5 minutes here? So they nest up high. They use that stooping method. I'll show you what it looks like. They basically fold in their wings and the feet tucked, and then they go and I got mixed information on if it's they punch the bird or they hit it with their wing, but it sounds like it's one of the two. And basically, you end up with the peregrine falcon kind of hitting it, knocks it into midair, and then catches it with its talons. So part of the reason that people love to use it for falconry, excuse me, is because when you use your peregrine falcon and have it go pick up prey, the actual hunt is really cool to watch. Um, it's often used in falconry also because it's smart, it's got a good disposition for training. That video that I mentioned has a discussion with the falconer, and they talk a little bit about it. What else on here? So the peregrines mate for life, which is really cute. They also come back to the same nest every year, which is really cute. So I like to think of them as just little city birds, just living up in their nest together and hanging out, coming back every year to have some more chicks. The last part about peregrine falcons that is pretty fascinating is I mentioned that they're doing pretty well now. It wasn't the case that way in about the 1950s when they were on the endangered list. And what had happened was that pesticides, especially DDT, were being used prevalently, and um, peregrine falcons were picking up this DDT as part of a process called biomagnification, which is a long word, but I'll show a photo of kind of what it means. Because of this, DDT was getting in their systems and killing off the birds. So there was a ban on DDT in the 70s and a lot of recovery efforts, especially in Acadia. So rotate here and you can kind of see. So like these, you can kind of see that rock face is like a proper rock face. So you imagine as a peregrine falcon, that's exactly right. This is Cadillac Mountain we're coming up to, by the way. Okay, so what happened to the peregrine falcons? Because they're top of the food chain, and it's hard to kill something at the top of the food chain just like that if the food is still prevalent. Biomagnification is this process by which organisms higher up the food chain will inherit or will soak up extra toxins because they need to eat more of the critters at the lower ends of the food chain. So let me show this. So real quick, I showed that photo of Cadillac Mountain earlier. Hop out of the plane, we can do a little look around. So this is Cadillac Mountain. It's the parking lot for it. There's Bar Harbor, the rest of the park, your Sunrise. And then we're coming up, I believe this is the tarn that we're going to be passing. So, pretty view of the area. All right, so biomagnification. What this looks like in really brief is, let's say that your plants pick up a little bit of insecticide. Well, a mouse needs to eat a lot of plants to survive, and that that DDT doesn't go away when it eats it because nothing in the organism knows how to digest it. And so it stays around the mouse. Well, a snake needs to eat a lot of mouse, and so it's going to get even more of that DDT. And then a falcon, like a peregrine falcon, would eat a lot of snakes. And so by the time you get to the top of the food chain, you've ended up with a lot of this insecticide in the system of peregrine falcon. I mentioned this for a couple of reasons. One is it's a really important part of how these sorts of ecosystems are all interdependent. I soften the bird's eggshells. Is that what it was? Oh, thank you. I got an audio note from my wife, so we'll see if good. Okay, cool. Thanks. So we'll pop back into the plane. We'll do a little bit of circling around, and then we'll set up for that barrel roll as promised. I'll do that just after 8. I'll try to keep a little punctual in them. So I mentioned that because it's an important process, and this sort of biomagnification is so we started off with a poll, and we'll finish off within the Storl of the Mori. So the Storl of the Mori here is biomagnification is a reminder that a hidden costs of a decision, like DDT, may outweigh the benefits, and we need to be thoughtful in our choices. But we can all do our part in fixing this sort of issue, which is why I'm excited to announce everyone in the chat will be receiving their very own peregrine falcon. Actually, it's only one per household because I didn't have quite enough peregrine falcons to go around, but don't worry, everyone else in the house will get their own rock pigeon. So at least you have a guarantee of liveliness over the holiday season. Also, that is a joke just for anyone who's unsure listening to that. I don't have enough peregrine falcons, but when you go visit Acadia, you can go and look for the chicks in the mountains. Okay. Oh, we can't do our vote for the next park. I would like to have that be something that we choose together. Fractals, do you want to do a maybe post the 3 park options? Next week is the first week of this holiday break for me, so I'm hoping to do a little bit more of a big name park. So why don't we do a rough poll in the chat, and then Fractals, you make the executive decision based on rough numbers. So there's Zion National Park, Yosemite National Park, and Bryce Canyon National Park are our three options for next week. So go ahead and post in the chat what you'd like for your national park, and then Fractals, get your we're gonna here. Let me see if we can do Zion. Okay, here I'll post this one up. So these are the three that we're looking at. Although I do love Olympic National Park. Nice. Okay. While people are voting on that one, talked a lot about the park, about the kind of love letter to nature. The Peregrine Falcon restoration is an example of this. Stewardship means different things to different people, and it's up to you in the end to decide what it means to you. I did like a quote I came across by Rockefeller Jr., and it's also inscribed on the tablet that faces his famed Rockefeller Center. So the quote is, "I believe that every right implies a responsibility, every opportunity an obligation, and every possession a duty." So a little less inappropriate joke to finish this week and keep it a little bit more love letter on topic. So that's all for today. Thank you all very much. It was very fun to explore with you. Fractals, you want to make the choice on this next park? I'm seeing a lot of Bumblebees. Seeing a lot of Zion, Yosemite, Bryce. Yosemite got 4 votes. All right, Yosemite it is. Gotta love that. So next week we'll be going and exploring Yosemite together. So 7 o'clock, same time. We'd love to have you join. I'll post a survey in the chat, and Fractal's already posted up that Discord link, but make sure we got to Go Squadron. Good callback. Squadron is a joke from last chat. So if you get a second, take the survey. I'd love to know things you like, things you would want improved. Always looking to make it more fun, more enjoyable for everyone. Also, would love to have you come hang out in the Discord community. We chat about the national parks and other adventures. It's just lighthearted fun. I'll post that video that I mentioned. I also make custom emojis from past national parks. So every week there'll be 2 new emojis from the park going up. So you can look forward to those coming up in a little bit here. And with that, I will stay online a little bit longer for promised barrel roll, or attempted a barrel roll. But we'll officially close out the stream here today then. With a good cheesy sign off. So thank you for being my co-pilot today, and until we meet again, keep on exploring. Okay, pause for a moment, smile at the camera. Okay, and now we'll attempt a barrel roll. So thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Sailor Guy. Thanks for tuning in. Jay, John, promised a barrel roll. Barrel roll is coming up. All right, so a couple things that go into a barrel roll. I don't know if I mentioned this on an earlier Fractals language. But I don't know if I mentioned this on an earlier stream, but I actually did look into a little bit of aerobatics and things. This is not an aerobatic plane. If that's something people would want to see at some point, that is an option. There's a couple in the game. But the principles are all kind of the same, and like I said, it's a 1G barrel roll, so I'll post that video in the Discord too. Jason, stop spamming. Okay, I don't know what that means. All right, Fractals will have to take care of that. Thanks, crazy Tycho Brahe? Okay, so the idea behind a barrel roll is you pick a point at the horizon about 45 degrees off, and essentially you bring the plane up and fly it around in this sort of like barrel shaped. So unlike a snap roll where you would be pointing the plane straight ahead of you, instead you kind of turn around a point at a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to pick my 45-degree point. I think you can see my mouse still. That lake right there, and I'm going to attempt to do a spin around it. But I'm going to get a little bit more speed first, because the other thing about flying a plane is the more speed you have, the easier it is to fly. Okay, a couple ways to get speed. You can turn up the engine, or you can dive the plane a little bit. So we'll get ourselves up to 200 knots here, or kilometers per hour, excuse me. And let's see if we can do this. So basically, pull up, Okay, not the greatest barrel roll of all time, but we finished at the same speed we started, which is just part of the idea. All right, we can do one more here. Oh, there's the airport. So that's actually the airport nearest to the park. There you go. That's a little bit more precise of a barrel roll. So just like skiing, yeah, just like skiing. Yeah, a lot of those skiing, sailing, things in the water, things in the sky, all that kind of motion ends up looking a lot of the same. Um, so, okay. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for sticking around for a barrel roll. Like I said, I'll post in the Discord that Boeing 747. That one's a pretty cool one to check out. He was a test pilot who originally was an aerobatic pilot and just kind of did it. And no one at the convention was expecting him. So it's this jumbo jet doing a barrel roll. So, all right. Thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. See you next week. Bye.